Have you ever sat down in the middle of a busy day, surrounded by bills, meetings, deadlines, and suddenly thought to yourself, what am I doing all this for? I've asked myself that before, and I've seen hundreds of my coaching clients ask the same thing. Not because they're weak, but because at some point you start to feel like, I'm running, but I'm not sure where I'm going. You're making money, but you don't know what you're really building. I once coached a man named David. He was 43, a sales director making six figures. On paper, life looked perfect. But one day he said to me, Coach, I feel like a highly paid mercenary. I'm good at making money, but I don't know what I'm serving. That line haunted me for days. See, most of us were taught how to make money, but almost no one taught us how to build something meaningful, sustainable, bigger than ourselves. Wealthy people think differently. They don't just ask, how much can I earn? They ask, what am I building? Because they know money comes and goes, opportunities come and go, but what you build, that stays, a system, a brand, a product, a legacy. I want you to imagine this. You're building a house. Every day you work, it's one brick. You can just lay bricks randomly to survive. Or you can arrange them with intention into something solid with purpose, something others can enter and be served by. Wealthy people don't just do random tasks. They connect everything into a system. They turn their daily energy into a machine that runs, even when they rest. One of my clients, Lisa, was a freelance content writer. She was really good, but constantly stressed. If I take a few days off, I lose income, she said. So I asked her, if you're always working just to survive, when do you actually build for freedom? We designed a content course together, turned her skills into a product. 6 months later, she wasn't trading hours for dollars anymore. And more importantly, she felt like she was building something, a system, a signature, an intellectual asset. Let me ask you honestly, everything you're doing right now, what is it building? Is it bringing you closer to the future you want or pulling you further away? Wealthy people always link their daily actions to a long-term vision. They don't just go to work for a paycheck. They go to study systems, to understand people, to sharpen skills, and from there, they build their own thing. There's a study from MIT that said, people who can connect today's actions with long-term goals are 5 times more likely to reach financial freedom than those who only react to the moment. Here's what I want you to try this week. Each night before bed, ask yourself one question. Did I lay a brick today for what I truly want to build? If the answer is no, don't beat yourself up. Just commit to placing one tomorrow, then another, then another. Every great career, every strong system, every true freedom starts with one small brick, laid with intention. You don't have to be a genius. You just need to be a little more aware each day and stay grounded in one question. What am I building? Because when you live with that question, every little thing you do becomes meaningful. You're no longer just working to survive. You're building your life. You're building your freedom. You're building something you can be proud of. So, what are you building today? Drop a comment and let me know. From consuming to creating value. Have you ever noticed from a young age we're trained to be great consumers? Pick the nicest shoes, buy the latest phone, take that vacation to treat yourself. And when you do it well, people say you've got taste or style. But let me ask you something. What are you really getting in return for all that spending? Does that comfort actually get you closer to financial freedom? I once sat down with a very successful entrepreneur, retired at 40. I asked him, what was the biggest turning point in your financial journey? He smiled and said, I just changed my position from being the buyer to being the one who creates what others want to buy. Sounds simple, but it was one of the biggest mindset flips I've ever heard. Instead of asking, how can I afford this? Wealthy people ask, what can I create that people need so I can earn enough to buy whatever I want? I remember one of my students, Lisa. She used to work at a front desk, below average income, but she loved baking. Still, she kept thinking, who would even want my cakes? During one coaching session, I asked her, what if someone is out there needing exactly what you can make? So instead of spending her holiday bonus on a new designer bag, Lisa bought ingredients and baking tools and started selling homemade cakes online to families in her neighborhood. 6 months later, She had a stable side income. But more importantly, she saw herself differently. She wasn't just a spender anymore. She was a creator of value. That's something I've learned from truly wealthy people. They don't chase spending. They spend most of their time, energy, and creativity asking, what problem can I solve? What skill, idea, or product can I offer to make someone's life better? Here's the truth. If all you ever do is spend money, it's gone forever. But if you create value, money starts flowing towards you, naturally, consistently, sustainably. You don't have to be a tech founder or launch the next billion-dollar startup. If you can solve a real problem, people will find you. A study from Harvard Business School found that people who shift from a consumption mindset to a creation mindset are 3x more likely to increase their income within 2 years, not because they worked harder, but because they created something others were willing to pay for. So pause for a second and ask yourself, when was the last time I made something useful for someone else? Do I have a skill, story, or experience that others might actually need? Maybe you can write, cook, explain things clearly, listen deeply. Something that feels normal to you might be life-changing to someone else. And no, I'm not saying you need to quit your job and start a business tomorrow. I'm just inviting you to think differently. Instead of just being a consumer, try becoming someone who gives others a reason to spend. Start small. Maybe it's a blog post, a handmade product, a short video. But once you start creating, you shift from dependency to ownership, from buying for yourself to helping others buy from you. So here's what I want you to try today. Instead of asking, what should I buy next? Ask yourself, what can I create that someone would happily pay for? Because in the world of personal finance, the wealthy aren't the best spenders, they're the best value creators, and you can start too. Right here, right now, what will you create today? Leave a comment below and don't forget to hit subscribe. The wealthy know that stability is an illusion. Stability is an illusion, and the rich choose to be proactive. Have you ever heard someone say, I just want a stable job. As long as I get a paycheck every month, I feel safe. I've heard that line hundreds of times, and I get it. Most of us grew up in a world where stability was the dream. A stable job, a stable life, a stable income. But let me say this very clearly, stability is an illusion. And the wealthy, they understand that better than anyone. I once had a student, Mark, IT engineer, solid income, working at a big-name corporation. 5 years ago, he laughed when I asked, do you have any income outside your salary? He replied, nah, Kim, I don't need it. My company's super stable. Then COVID hit. Then came restructuring. Then one email and 90% of his income vanished overnight. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you because that was a wake-up call for him and many others. What we often call security is sometimes just a routine that hasn't been tested yet. The wealthy don't live under the illusion of safety. They know the world always changes, and if they don't evolve, the world will force them to. They don't rely on a single paycheck. They build multiple streams, businesses, investments, intellectual property, portable skills. Because they're not just trying to make a living, they're building control over their life. A study from Charles Schwab found people with at least 3 income streams are 7 times more likely to reach financial freedom than those who depend solely on a paycheck. Wealthy people don't wait for storms to hit before learning to swim. They train daily, even when the waters are calm. I remember asking a woman entrepreneur in New York, someone who survived 2 economic crashes, how did you get through those years? She just smiled and said, I didn't need to get through it because I never stood still. Let that sink in. So how about you? Are you living with just one income stream? Are you placing your entire future on a piece of paper labeled stable? I'm not saying quit your job tomorrow, and I'm not telling you to dive into risky investments. I'm inviting you to start building proactivity. Maybe it's learning a new skill. Maybe it's turning your expertise into a digital product. Maybe it's starting a YouTube channel, a newsletter, a mini side hustle. Because freedom doesn't come from a high salary, it comes from having options. When you build multiple income flows, you stop fearing change. You don't have to hope everything stays stable. You take control of what you can. And here's what I want you to remember. The rich don't chase stability. They build adaptability so they can thrive in any storm. You don't need to change everything today, but take one step, one intentional small step, and over time, that shift can change your entire financial future. So let me ask you this. Are you building an illusion of stability or a flexible, proactive, reliable system? And one final question. Honestly, if you lost your main income source today, how long could you keep going? Drop your answer in the comments, and if this made you think, hit subscribe. Let's build wealth that doesn't depend on luck or illusion. Wealth doesn't come from income, it comes from clarity in financial decisions. Have you ever heard this one? If I just made more money, everything would be fine. I hear that line almost every week, from single professionals to high-level entrepreneurs. They all think the issue is income. But here's the truth. Not everyone who makes a lot of money is actually wealthy. Let me tell you about two people I've worked with. Brandon works at a major tech company, makes nearly $250,000 a year. But when I first met him, he was drowning in credit card debt. Nearly 70% of his income was going toward repayments, shopping, and, well, things he couldn't even remember buying. Now meet Sarah. She's a school teacher, makes less than $55,000 a year, no debt, owns her own investment account, and she's saving up for her first real estate deal. I asked Brandon, when was the last time you tracked what you spent on non-essentials? He laughed awkwardly. I think maybe $800 last month. We checked. The real number? $3,100. So you see, it's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep and what you do with what you keep. A study from the University of Chicago found people who can delay gratification, think long-term, and make conscious financial decisions are 5 times more likely to accumulate wealth than others with the same income. Here's the thing. Talking about budgeting isn't sexy. It doesn't have the sparkle of high-stakes investing or big paychecks. But if you're not making sharp, intentional decisions each day, even doubling your income won't help because you'll just spend twice as much. Ask yourself, when was the last time I spent money to grow myself? Is this expense building my future or just a quick emotional escape? Wealthy people don't always do more. They just think better before they act. A well-placed dollar can become an asset. A careless one, just a dopamine hit, and then nothing. So if your income isn't sky high right now, don't panic. What matters more is whether you're making intentional choices with the money you have. Because money doesn't automatically create wealth. Clarity does. Don't wait until you're making double to learn how to manage. Master what you have now. Because if you can't manage 10, you won't manage $10,000. So let me ask you, are you making financial decisions with clarity or with autopilot? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. And hey, if this message hit home, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Let's build not just income, but intelligence around money. Wealth doesn't come from how much you earn. It comes from how clearly you make financial decisions. Have you ever heard someone say this? If I could just make more money, I'd be fine. I hear that every single week, from single professionals to CEOs. They all think the problem is income. But here's the truth. Not everyone who earns more ends up wealthy. Let me tell you about Brandon. He worked at a major tech firm, was making close to $250,000 a year. But when I started coaching him, he was drowning in credit card debt. Nearly 70% of his income vanished into debt, impulse spending, and things he couldn't even remember. Then there's Sarah, another client of mine. She's a public school teacher, makes under $55 a year, but no debt, has her own investment account, and she's saving up for her first real estate property. I asked Brandon, do you know how much you spent on non-essentials last month? He laughed awkwardly. Maybe $800? We checked. Actual number? $3,100. See the difference? It's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep and what you do with what you keep. A study from the University of Chicago found people who can delay gratification, think long-term, and make calm financial decisions accumulate wealth up to 5x faster than peers with the same income. Now I get it. Talking about budgeting or discipline isn't as sexy as talking about getting rich. There's no spotlight on smart spending. But if you're not present, really present, with a little financial decisions each day, then even if you double your income, you'll just double your expenses. Let me ask you honestly, when was the last time you spent money to increase your value? Is your spending building assets or just releasing momentary stress? Wealthy people don't always do more. They just think better before they act. A dollar spent with intention can become a future asset. A dollar spent on impulse, just dopamine and regret. So even if your income isn't high yet, don't get discouraged. The real question is, are you making conscious choices with every dollar you do have? Money doesn't create wealth by itself. A clear, intentional mindset does. Don't wait until you earn more to start managing it. Start leading your money now, because if you can't lead $10, you won't lead $10,000 either. Well, Flynn, I'd love to hear from you. Are you making clear, conscious financial decisions right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's grow, one wise choice at a time. Learn one high-value skill every year, because wealthy people don't collect degrees. They collect tools. Let me ask you something simple. What was the last real skill you learned? Not theory, not trivia, but a skill you could actually use to solve problems and earn income from. If you had to pause and think, that might be a sign you're falling a step behind. I once asked a self-made millionaire, "Where's your biggest investment? Stocks? Real estate?" He smiled and shook his head. "Skills," he said. "Every year I pick one skill and go all in, because skills are assets no one can take from you." See, wealthy people understand something most others forget. Money doesn't come from titles. It comes from problem-solving ability, and that comes from skills. One of my students, Brandon, worked in IT for 9 years. Solid income, but stuck. I said to him, if you want a different income, you need a different skill. So he picked up negotiation and communication. Was it easy? No, it was awkward, uncomfortable, totally out of his zone. But 6 months later, he landed a team lead role. Not because of a new degree, but because he could now lead people, pitch ideas, and influence decisions. Wealthy people don't learn for fun. They learn with strategy. Each year they pick one high-value skill and master it. Public speaking, sales and persuasion, negotiation, personal finance, tech skills like AI, data literacy. A study from the World Economic Forum found people who build new skills each year grow their income 2.5 times faster than those who don't. Here's the key. You don't need to learn everything. Just one powerful skill a year. Learn it deeply. Practice it weekly. Track your progress. So let me ask you, if you could only learn one skill in the next 12 months, what would double your value on the market? If you're not sure where to start with communication, because you could be the best in your field. But if you can't present your ideas, if you can't negotiate, if you can't speak with confidence, you'll always be undervalued. Drop in the comments what skill you're learning or want to learn. I'll reply with 3 high-quality, free resources to help you get started. Remember, skills are assets. Every time you learn a new one, you increase your market value. And a person who keeps growing their skills is someone who never fears being broke, being replaced, or being left behind. Wealthy people don't just spend money, they design cash flow. Every dollar that goes out has a reason. They know where their money's going, and more importantly, how it's coming back. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like money keeps flowing in and then just disappearing? Like no matter how much you make, by the end of the month, you're back to zero? I want you to picture this. You're standing in the middle of a garden. There's a little stream flowing. That's your income. Most people, they scoop the water and splash it wherever. As long as it flows, they spend. But the wealthy, they build a system, a network of channels, guiding the water to the right places at the right time, and even bringing it back to nourish the garden again. I once coached a logistics CEO who told me, I never spend money. I just place it in positions where it returns multiplied. That hit me like a lightning bolt. It sounds simple, but it's an entirely different level of thinking. Most people spend emotionally. Feeling tired? Fancy coffee. Feeling bored? New outfit. Payday? Time for a big treat. Every dollar spent is a reaction. Wealthy people? Every dollar is a decision. Will this create another income stream? Is this an expense or a seed for growth? If this doesn't come back directly, will it at least increase my skill, my credibility, or my system? A Harvard Business Review study once found people who actively direct their cash flow toward long-term financial goals see 3x more sustainable asset growth than those who spend impulsively. I helped a graphic designer, 4,000 month income. Before, she spent nearly everything. But after just 2 months of cash flow tracking with intention, she was saving 20% and invested in a course that doubled her income in 6 months. So what does it mean to design your cash flow? It means your money has a map. You know where it's going. You can predict when it comes back. You're not asking, wait, how much did I spend this month? Why is my account empty again? Maybe I should try saving more. No, you've got a plan, a structure, a financial architecture. I often tell my students, saving is the foundation, investing is the first floor, but cash flow design, that's the whole building. Wealthy people don't play games with their money. They build systems. So today, I invite you to think differently. Don't ask, can I afford this? Ask, is this money flowing in the right direction? If you spend, spend with intention. If you invest, know your return timeline. If money's sitting still, know why it's parked. So let me ask you, when was the last time you tracked where your money actually went? Drop a comment below. Let's talk, because financial freedom doesn't come from just making more. It comes from knowing exactly what every dollar is doing and making sure it's working for you, not against you. Every dollar you spend is an investment decision. Even with food, education, vacations, wealthy people ask, will this make me stronger, smarter, clearer? One of my mentors, a self-made millionaire, once said to me, every dollar I spend must bring ROI, whether that's energy, clarity, or knowledge. And I never forgot that. I want you to pause for a second. Have you ever hovered over the Pay Now button and asked yourself, is this helping me grow? Or am I just escaping how I feel right now? Most people don't ask that because, let's be honest, most of us spend on autopilot. Feeling tired? Order food. Feeling down? Scroll and shop. Feeling pressure? Buy something because I deserve it. But wealthy people, they think differently. Not because they're stingy, but because they have vision. They see money not just as a way to survive, but as a vote for the future version of themselves. I remember Rachel, one of my students. She was spending nearly 60% of her income on things she couldn't even remember a week later. I didn't tell her to stop spending. I simply asked her one question. Is this expense making you stronger, smarter, or clearer? That one question changed everything. She still spent, but she spent intentionally. A healthy meal instead of junk food. An online course instead of another designer bag. A book instead of a binge-watch marathon. Because spending isn't the problem. Spending without awareness is. A Yale study once showed people who make financial decisions aligned with long-term goals report 43% higher life satisfaction and stability after 5 years. So I want you to imagine this. You're at the checkout counter, but instead of a product, you're choosing a future version of yourself. Will you choose the version that's healthy, sharp, and in control, or the one who keeps chasing quick comfort and ends up stuck again next month? Wealthy people don't just spend, they invest. Even a vacation, it's to recharge for deeper work. Even buying a book, it's to unlock a new level of thinking. Even where they eat, it's a choice for the kind of energy they want to carry. So here's a challenge. Before your next purchase, pause for 3 seconds and ask, will this make me stronger, smarter, or clearer? If yes, go ahead, invest boldly. If not, you might just be buying a temporary emotion. Drop a comment below. What's the last thing you spent money on that actually made you better? I'd love to hear your story. Because here's the truth. You don't need to be a financial investor right away, but you're always an investor in yourself. And every small decision you make, every dollar you spend is a vote for who you are becoming. Language is the software of your reality. Wealthy people use language to expand their capacity, not to limit themselves. They speak from belief, not from fear. Let me ask you something. Think back to the last thing you said when you faced something you didn't know, weren't good at, or had never tried. Did you say, I can't do this? Or, I don't know how yet, but I'm learning? Sounds small, right? But actually, that's programming. You may not realize it, but every sentence you speak drops lines of code into your subconscious. And the scariest part, your brain believes it. I once had a student, her name was Julia, single mom, office job. On our first day of coaching, she said to me, "I don't think I'm cut out for business. I'm just not wired like other people." I didn't give her a strategy. Not yet. I paused and asked, "Julia, if you say that to yourself every day, do you think your brain will help you build a business or find ways to avoid it completely?" That was our starting point. Not the business plan, but how she talked to herself. Wealthy people understand this deeply. The way you speak about yourself is how you write the next chapter of your life. They don't lie to themselves, but they use language to aim forward, not repeat old stories. Instead of saying, "I'm not good at investing," they say, "I'm learning how to invest smarter every week." "I'm not business minded." They say, "I'm building my first small system, step by step." A Stanford study found positive self-narrative increases proactive behavior, reduces anxiety, and improves financial and personal decision-making. Simple, right? But I've seen it over and over again. Transformation begins with your words. So I want you to try this. Next time you face something hard, instead of saying, "I don't know how," say, "I'm on the journey to learning this." Instead of, "I'm afraid of getting it wrong," say, "I'm willing to try so I can learn how to get it right." Because when you speak differently, you live differently. Language isn't just for communication, it's the remote control for your reality. So here's a real question. From today forward, do you want to live by the language of fear or the language of growth? And if there's a phrase you've been saying that holds you back, drop it in the comments. Then rewrite it. Make it stronger, clearer, braver. I'll read it, maybe even give you feedback. Because here's the truth. It's not your bank account, your IQ, or your background that shapes your life. It's the story you tell about it every single day. Wealthy people schedule time to think. They don't just react to life. They lead their lives with space to reflect, plan, and decide with clarity. Let me ask you this. Are you actually taking time to think or just reacting all day long? You ever had a day where you're running nonstop, emails, meetings, deadlines, calls, and at the end of it, you just sit there thinking, what did I actually move forward today? Sound familiar? Wealthy people, they live differently. They don't let life pull them in every direction. They pause, they zoom out, they schedule time to think strategically. I once asked a multimillionaire CEO who runs 3 companies, "How do you make so many good decisions so quickly?" He smiled and said, "I don't make decisions when I'm busy. I schedule time to think before things get chaotic." Simple idea, right? But one that most people skip, especially those always feeling too busy. Thinking time, not daydreaming, not worrying. I'm talking about intentional reflection. Sitting down quietly with questions like, where am I heading? Am I still aligned with what matters? What needs to change? One of my coaching clients, an HR director, once told me, "I feel like I'm always drowning in tasks. I never have time to think." I asked her, "If you don't take time to think, who's actually steering your life?" She started blocking out just 1 hour a week. No email, no phone, no Netflix, just her, a notebook, and real questions. 2 months later, she had restructured her team, cut out what no longer served her, and made a major career move she'd been avoiding for 2 years. Wealthy people don't have more time. They make time for what truly matters. A study from Harvard Business School found just 15 minutes of strategic thinking each week can improve decision-making and productivity by 23%. So try this. Schedule it, like a meeting with yourself. 15 to 30 minutes each week. No distractions, no agenda, just space to think. Ask yourself, what went right this week? What should I stop doing? Am I building something or just reacting? You can't drive to your destination if you never stop to check the map. And you can't build real wealth if you're always rushing without clarity. Drop a comment below. What day this week can you give yourself thinking time? I'll reply with 3 strategic questions to get you started. And remember, being busy isn't a sign of success. Thinking clearly, that's the foundation of true wealth. If this message spoke to you, if it helped you pause, breathe, and think differently, then hit subscribe right now. Because every week I'll be sharing powerful real-world tools to help you not just earn more, but live smarter, with intention and freedom. Hit that button and let's grow together.